On July 20th, 1969, humans stepped onto the moon for the first time. The mission Apollo 11 changed history forever, but getting there didn't happen overnight. It took years of planning, testing, and teamwork. During the space race, a time when the United States and the Soviet Union competed to explore space, this is the story of how humans made it to the moon and proved that it really happened. In the late 1950s, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first satellite to orbit Earth. Then, in 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space. These successes pushed the United States to catch up. NASA, founded in 1958, began building rockets, spacecraft, and training astronauts for space missions. The effort laid the foundation for sending humans beyond Earth's orbit.
In 1961, President John F. Kennedy made a bold promise. The United States would land a man on the moon and bring him back safely before the decade ended. At the time, humans had only just started orbiting Earth, but this challenge launched the Apollo program, aiming to solve the huge technical problems needed for a moon landing.
NASA first tested humans in space with Project Mercury, proving people could survive and work in orbit. Then Project Gemini trained astronauts to do spacewalks and fly long missions and dock spacecraft together. Each mission taught lessons critical for traveling to the moon and returning safely home.
In 1967, a fire during a test of Apollo 1 killed three astronauts, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. NASA paused the program and redesigned the spacecraft and improved safety. These changes made Apollo spacecraft stronger and protected the astronauts who would go to the moon.
Apollo 7 tested the command module in Earth orbit. Apollo 8 traveled around the moon and sent live images, including the famous Earthrise photo. Apollo 9 and 10 tested the lunar module and practiced a full landing. By 1969, everything was ready for Apollo 11.
On July 16, 1969, the Saturn V rocket launched from Florida with Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins aboard. After traveling 240,000 miles, Armstrong and Aldrin prepared to land in the lunar module Eagle, while Collins stayed in orbit.
On July 20th, 1969, the Eagle began its descent. Alarms went off and Armstrong had to steer manually to avoid rocks. With seconds of fuel left, the model landed safely. Armstrong radioed, "Houston, tranquilly base here. The Eagle has landed." He stepped onto the moon and said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Aldrin joined him, and together they collected rocks, set up experiments, and planted the American flag. Here are some proof why the moon landing was real. Thousands of engineers and scientists tracked the mission. The lunar model and Saturn V rocket were photographed and examined on Earth. Lunar rocks collected the astronauts have been studied worldwide and are unlike any rocks found on Earth. Radio signals and live TV broadcasts were received globally during the mission.
After about 21 hours on the moon, Armstrong and Aldrin returned to orbit and met Collins. The group then traveled home, landing safely in the Pacific Ocean on July 24, 1969, and were recovered by the USS Hornet.
Apollo 11 proved humans could reach another world, and it fulfilled Kennedy's challenge and remains one of history's greatest achievements. Subsequently, Apollo missions continued to explore the moon, bringing back hundreds of pounds of lunar rocks. The evidence from photos and videos, moon rocks, and worldwide tracking proves the moon landing really happened.
Even with all this information, people still think the moon landing was fake. For our next episode, we will talk about why people think the moon landing was fake.